Welcome back to Too Many Records. You guys have asked me on Instagram and on Twitter to do another segment of this, so I decided to do it. These are some holy grail records that I'm looking for. I'm going to tell you what they are, why you should be interested in them, and what they go for on Discogs. So if you want to beef up your want list with some really good holy grails, you're going to want to stick around right after this. First up on my list is a great album that I don't talk about on this channel, but I should. Aphex Twin Drukqs. That's not spelled the normal way. D-R-U-K-Q-S. Weird, right? Well, it's because he's weird, in the best way. Aphex Twin is an absolute genius. This album is a mixture of IDM, breakbeat, drum and bass, industrial. It's all over the place. The sounds are unlike anything you've ever heard of, but it's done by the maestro of electronic music, and it's done brilliantly. This album has not been reissued since it came out because it came out in a really unique way. It wasn't a 12 by 12 record. No. It was a 12 by 17 inch box. So there was absolutely no way to store it properly. A logistical nightmare for any OCD collector. And because of that, copies are frequently dinged up and it's hard to find a mint sleeve or even a near mint sleeve. I've wanted this for a long time. I was at someone's house once who had a copy and he played it. It sounds unbelievable. It is probably worth the price. Have not plunked it down yet, but I hope if they do a reissue, they do it faithfully with the same box. It's a cool piece to own, but I don't know if I can pay the prices it goes for, which are. There's an okay copy on Discogs right now, which is like VG, give or take, for $175. If you want a nice copy, you're looking at $200 to $400 depending on how clean that copy is. This is a grail for so many collectors, especially for Aphex Twin fans. If you own this, leave a comment because this is definitely one worth bragging about. Next up, we got Flamingosis Pleasure Palette. Flamingosis is a really terrific future funk and kind of vaporwave inspired artist. Vinyl Digital, label overseas in Germany that I talk about all the time that does a lot of lo-fi hip-hop type stuff, they pressed this back in 2016 and it has skyrocketed in price. He has become a lot more well-known because of his other releases, but this release seems to be the holy grail of his entire discography. 300 copies, but if you want to own this future funk brilliance, you're going to be paying a lot. The only copy currently on Discogs is 230, and that person thinks they've cornered the market because there's nothing else available to put it against. But historically, it's sold for a little less than that. Ranges between $95 and $140, so still a lot. Not quite that 200 plus, but I worry that if this doesn't get a repress, that price is just going to skyrocket. So I don't know. If you're interested, you might have to take the plunge. If not, cross your fingers for a repress like the rest of us. Anderson Paak OBE Volume 1. Where's Volume 2? I don't know, but Volume 1 was his first official album, pressed by Jakarta, a really cool indie label that does a lot of collectible low-run hip-hop stuff, most of which is really dope. This is no exception. Anderson Paak, if you don't know him, he is with the band The Free Nationals. They're amazing. They put on incredible live shows, and their albums are just R&B inspired, drum-heavy jams with rapping and singing, and it's just great stuff. Malibu and Venice are both essential records. This one is great too, but this one is the only one that's extremely out of print. The only copy currently available on Discogs is 175 bones. Usually falls somewhere around there, 160 to 200 based on historical data, but I'm hoping this one gets a repress by a major label now that Anderson Paak is kind of everywhere and everyone knows him and loves him. We'll see. This is another one that I'm really hoping gets a repress soon. Alice in Chains self-titled. This is the final album they did with Lane Staley, which of course he passed away way too early, way too young. An amazing talent. Jerry Cantrell is still there and they're still putting out some badass music. Just saw them live recently, and Rainier Fog, their new album, was surprisingly excellent. Actually met them at Amoeba before the show and I talked to Jerry and asked him about the potential for a self-titled reissue. He said they're working on it. Now, that could have been a blow-off, but I want to believe it's true because it is hard to find this record. This record is grunge brilliance. Heaven Beside You is the big single from it, but everything on it is excellent because pretty much everything Lane Staley ever sung was just brilliant. Only copy right now on Discogs is looking at about 200 bucks. Tends to go between 180 and 250. So right now you'll be paying a lot for the legendary Tripod album, but you never know. The final one is a release from Japan. Yasunori Mitsuda and Millennial Fair. They did a Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross orchestral arrangement album. I love those two games. If you ever had a Super Nintendo and you're a JRPG fan, you know that Chrono Trigger is one of the best RPGs of all time. Chrono Cross is also excellent for the PlayStation, but both games had such a beautiful mythos, beautiful characters, especially Chrono Cross, which had like a billion characters, but they also had amazing music. They did these incredible interpretations of the soundtrack, and this record is so hard to find now, it actually pains me to talk about it. I remember in 2015 when it came out, I remember passing on it because it was like 50 or 60 bucks shipped from overseas. What a dum-dum I was. It tends to go for, if it ever pops up, between $250 and $450, but the only copy available is sitting at $530. Video game fans are crazy about their vinyl, and this is no exception. This is the only way to get Chrono series music on vinyl. I bet it sounds wonderful, and I would love to own it one day. I am not banking on a repress, but until then, fingers crossed. Those were 5 more Holy Grail White Whale records that I am looking for and hopefully will find, with luck, at a reasonable price. But as you can see, these are all very expensive, and until we get represses, I'm gonna have to get very lucky or make a very dumb purchase. What are some of your Holy Grail records? Leave a comment, let me know what you're looking for, what you were hunting for, the ultimate get would be, and I'd love to read that stuff, so maybe you'll add some stuff to my want list too. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to Too Many Records. Make sure notifications are turned on so you don't miss any of my awesome videos I put out at least once a week. More videos soon. Take it easy.